Greetings, everybody. We have gathered around the table again today, and you might notice that there's only 3 of us here because someone sucks. Might have gotten a little infection in the cut on his thumb, and we had to leave him along the wayside of the trail.
Yeah, check out last week's video where he's like, oh, my thumb, and we're going to have an episode on it this week. Well, we do.
He's dead.
He didn't make it to this week.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure he was eaten by wolves.
He died of dysentery at the side of the Oregon Trail.
Dysentery is the cause. It is the DOC.
True story.
Dysentery.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure wolves ate him.
Yeah, I mean,
naturally.
And you won't find his remains. Don't bother looking. He's just not
I
there
hope
anymore.
wolves ate him.
Yeah.
And he was still alive when it happened.
I hope deer didn't eat him. That's way weirder than wolves.
Yeah. So off of that weirdness, let's go for the pocket dumps. Dennis!
It's over there.
Oh, I don't even know. I don't even know.
Losing stuff.
M4 Freak.
Super Freak.
Rarely that I carry a couple knives back to back, but this week the M4 Freak has really been
awesome.
Yeah, it really has been awesome. M4 G10, all the goodness.
It's been kind of super.
It has been super.
Little freaky.
Cue disco music here.
And I have the Kaiser Feist this week because it's the Kaiser Feist, and
Nice
it's a great little knife.
The Kaiser Feist is pretty nice.
Yeah.
Haven't redone the edge yet.
Nope. Sure
Full factory.
It'll get done at some point.
And the reason I ask is because of the curiosity of the Chinese 35s going on,
Fair
of
enough.
the S variations.
We'll find out.
I'm curious.
I'll probably end up getting to it when I'm on vacation.
That's fair.
Cool.
Yeah.
What are you rocking?
I've got my Benchmade Crooked River with the fancy Banksia pod scales that I did up on it. Ta-da.
More than familiar with the 30 variations of the S's when it comes to Benchmade. Yeah, lots of those in the collection.
It's a great knife, and it's made even better by the customized scales.
Yeah. Nigel did a kick-ass job on the banks, yeah. Get some glow-in-the-dark action going on that stuff.
Would be cool. Maybe for the next pod.
The next pod. I think Nigel's an alien.
You think he's an alien? I've known him for a long time.
I might be.
There's no might.
On that note.
So today we have gathered around to have a look at the new Cold Steel AD15.
If you couldn't tell what it was,
Ta-da!
it's right there.
Not to give any secrets away on the title of our video or the picture on the box that Nigel just showed you.
Or the picture that you clicked on to get to this video, or any of that.
Or
AD15.
the knife that's sitting right there right now. It's an AD15.
It is.
And it's a pretty neat little thing.
Yep. New for 2019 from Cold Steel. Designed by Andrew Demko. And main thing with the design is the funky scorpion lock there.
Yeah. I'm going to be honest. It took me more time than I'm comfortable admitting to that AD stands for Andrew Demko.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
You were just bewildered for a while.
I didn't think about it, and then I was like, oh, yeah, that's
Click,
a thing.
light bulb.
Yeah.
Light bulb.
Now, I don't know what the numbers are. The 15s
No
and the
idea.
10s, and I will fully admit I'm not sure.
Probably he just got lazy and didn't want to actually name them, so they're just all numbered.
Is there an
Maybe. I don't know.
85 that we don't know about? I don't know.
We don't know about it.
Yep.
It's a secret.
So weighing in at 6.5 ounces, it would take about 15 of these knives to equal the weight of an average brick.
6.5 ounces.
How many
that's
to get a brick?
15. 1-5.
That's a heavy knife.
It is.
Yeah.
Not as heavy as a brick, though.
No. True enough.
I want to throw 15 of these through a window here.
I want to see just like how big in size comparison 15 of these are compared to a brick.
Density-wise.
Yeah.
Well, the G10, it's going to make it, and the aluminum lock bar, it's going to make it lighter than a brick.
Yeah. So it would just be an impressive pile of knives.
A brick.
You guys are weird.
Have you met us?
And then we'll have a throwing contest.
I'm letting them know. And I mean, they know.
Yeah. This 41 episodes in, they better know by now. So at 8.5 inches long, it would take about, or just over 10,000 of these to equal the length of the Beast roller coaster.
It's Canada's Wonderland.
Hmm. I think I would prefer to ride the roller coaster than 10,000 of these.
Yeah. Wild Beast is a lot of fun, man.
I don't want to ride it twice, that's for sure.
No.
Would you like to go again, sir?
No. So this guy is using S35 for the steel. It's got G10 with full steel liners, and then the aluminum bar for the lock there.
Oh, nice materials.
Yeah, made of premium materials. And Cold Steel is known for having pretty good heat treatment on everything from spruce to blade steels to whatever it may be. They got criticized a little bit because their Oz 8 was left in the annealed form, but knowing the market that they were going towards, you don't blame them.
Oh.
Now that they stepped up to XHPs and S35s.
If you're going to stab it through a car hood, it makes perfect sense.
Yeah, you bet.
So the really cool thing about this guy is the new Scorpion lock there. And how it works is there's a spring assembly within the back pivot there that keeps the tension forward, and little notch there in the blade that bar in the back of the lock will sit down into, and that's what locks in and holds the blade in place.
It's a good time. It's a good time.
Yeah. It's a very neat option. Kind of play on other things that are out there. Like we were talking before. Like we were saying, similar to a lockback in a lot of ways. Similar to the lock on the Chris Reeves tie lock. You were saying, who makes that? Or who designed that?
G&G Hawk, I believe,
There
is the guys who had the tie lock, the patent on it. That
Neat design.
Yeah. Difference is that theirs was attached to the blade.
Yeah.
And when you opened it, the ball came down and around and locked onto the bar here rather than vice versa.
Yeah. They're not the same by any stretch, but they're kind of sisters.
Definitely have some similarities.
Yeah.
For sure. I find myself the fit and finish on the aluminum lock bar in particular really, really nicely done. Like it's really well finished. It's a little rough on the corner on the one top side type of thing.
Yeah.
But as far as the way that they actually finished this knife, absolutely fantastic, right?
It gives you enough traction on it to grab that lock bar and pull it out. Like it's nice. It's
Whatever.
not slippery. It's not.
Yep.
I don't know if they like sandblast it. Yeah, that's the word I'm looking for.
Yeah.
I don't know if they sandblast it and then do an anodize over top of that or what they do, but they got it dialed in nice.
Yeah, when you mentioned the sandblasting, that actually does have that sort of finish. I don't think they specify too much, but yeah, it does have that texture, and I enjoy it quite a bit, for sure.
It is nice. As far as the grip goes, it's a definite, very obvious ergonomics to it, and it is nice ergonomics.
It's very nice ergos.
As per usual with my stupid meat hooks.
If you're not an alien, they work great.
Yeah.
It's a little tight for me, but it's still comfy.
Myself, it locks me in absolutely fantastic. This knife was actually made for me. Like when it was open, it's
so
I
nice.
can't feel anything that would cause me discomfort other than the mild like fit and finish that we'll get into later.
Yeah, no, it fits really nice here. It fits really nice here. There is a slight chance of catching the back of that corner, but if you really liked that grip, it wouldn't take very much to knock off that corner. And
we were talking about that before recording, and you had mentioned that. And after you had mentioned it, before we started recording, I actually grabbed the knife a couple times, and I'm actually much more confident putting my finger up there than I thought I was going to be.
Yeah.
Like almost as comfortable as I would say like a CRKT pillar.
Yeah.
Or something like that. Like it gives me the same kind of like, okay, I'm good there type of thing, right? Like it's, so you might want to flatten the backside, but it is surprising on how much room you get. I didn't think it was going to be that much until I
No.
handled it. Yeah.
When I first saw it, my immediate thought was the steel wheel cut jack. And that has a much larger, deeper choil there. And that's what I wanted to grab it in. And it's still comfortable, but I don't know. If I was to redo this knife, I might put a deeper choil.
That's fair.
Maybe. But it's not bad the way it is.
Yeah. You're not Andrew Demko. So
It's true. It's true.
I personally also really love the lockup itself with this new Scorpion lock. When you're holding the knife itself, it locks you down and really locks the lock itself in place.
It's got a really nice deep notch that it locks.
So it has a similar outcome as like a butterfly knife, a balisong, for instance. When you're holding the knife, you're holding it in place. There's nothing to fail. And it's almost the same thing for this knife itself, right? There's very few positions that you're going to be in a grip where this lock even has the chance to fail.
Yeah.
So,
and even without the added strength of someone holding the bar in place,
it's solid.
It's super strong lock. I've seen a video of Andrew Demko clamped it into a vise and then was actually hammering on the back side, and it didn't shift. It stayed solid in place.
Like I was saying, that there's a very deep notch that's sitting in. Very, very safe, locked in.
I'm pretty sure you referred to it as a canyon earlier. I'm just saying.
It's a bit of a canyon.
Yeah.
And I wasn't a hateful
One
comment.
might even say a grand canyon.
It is pretty grand. It just locks you in. It locks the blade in really nice.
It locks the lock in really nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. My first negative is something that I learned by accident, and it was I tried to pop this thing open. It didn't go all the way, so I grabbed the lock bar and swung it.
I'm gonna get stabbed.
Swung it.
I'm gonna get stabbed.
Swung it the rest of the way open, and it did that.
Zoom in on that. Let's take a look. Yeah. Overextension. And I had not seen that until Paul pointed it out to me. But it's very obvious that there is no stop pin. There's nothing internally.
The stop pin is the lock bar. Like,
yeah.
It's actually these little nubbins is what stops it, as well as on the front side there, it stops it from traveling too far in.
Touche.
And that's what's stopping it on that overextension there.
Is it that, or is it the bar hitting the jimping? I thought it was the bar hitting the jimping before those pins were hitting the G10.
Nope, bar's still not touching, it seems. Might be at the same time. Until he just pinched my finger.
Negative number 2.
Other negative. No, you are correct, sir. Those pins are stopping it. Yes. So you can only travel slightly, but
it still does overextend.
Yeah, you bet. And if you don't notice that when you're deploying a knife and then go to cut with it, I don't know what the negative would be other than damaging the spring.
You might damage the knife a little bit
itself, but it would probably be pretty obvious, and it would probably go back to a lock position pretty quick. But,
yeah, as soon as you put your thumb on it, I'm pretty sure you'd push it back into.
Yeah,
like it's gonna, like from there.
Yeah,
I touch it and it goes back into position, but it's still something to keep an eye on.
Yeah, it was definitely something I didn't notice, and as soon as you did, I was like, oh, it's weird to see a folding knife go back that far.
Yeah, and that might be the only negative, is that it looks weird.
Yeah.
Ultimately, like it might not actually be doing any damage or anything else like that.
Structurally, it might not be damaging in any way, unless you tried to go cut with it, and then it probably would be, because the lock's not engaged.
If you hit something with it, it would probably do some damage.
But the very rare chance that it would happen, for sure. I think I have a couple negatives. There's one big one, but I think one of the universal ones is one of the chamfering and fit and finish on this knife. I think we can all kind of agree that it does have some crisp edges.
Especially in through the jimping there, those are sharp edges, as well as on the points and on the sides.
Aggressive.
Yeah.
And whether it's for gloved hand or not, that's fine.
Yeah.
The other area I noticed, and we were talking about it when we were talking about grip and really squeezing down, is right up here. Now, they did some chamfering or some stepping on the aluminum, but what they missed, and also what the CRKT Jumbones missed, was the final step.
Yeah.
And the final step they left crisp. So it's almost like none of it really mattered at all, because at the end you feel that
hard
final
line
edge on both sides of that aluminum lock bar, especially when you're really squeezing down on it.
For sure.
Other cons?
For me, as you just saw when I was playing there, showing over the overextending, is I find there's a bit of a learning curve to this lock. And part of that learning curve is the pinchability of, if you're too high up on the lock, you can...
It's very pinchy.
Yeah.
So before recording tonight, me and Paul were talking. And as I was talking about it pinching my index finger.
Yeah.
And then it pinched my index finger. And as I was talking about that and releasing it off of that, I released it down and it pinched me in my palm on the other side as I was describing it pinching me here. Yeah. So, yeah, like, honestly, you do have to be careful with getting used to this lock bar face. And on that note, having skinny fingers. It's something I notice quite a bit myself, but you can dig your finger too far into here. I think it's been documented already that people have noticed that if you get your finger too far in, you might be in for a bit of a hard time, a bit of a nightmare when this thing scissors closed, right?
Kind of cigar cutter the tip of your finger off.
Yeah, you could see how deep I had it in when I zoomed in on that, and you don't want to be doing that. I've seen 2 or 3 people really kind of put their fingers in there, and I'm like, you need to be conscious of that, especially if you're going to swing that blade closed quick.
Yeah.
And as we're on that point of being careful with this guy and the potential of cutting yourself with it, that's actually what Joe did to himself. He managed, as he was opening it, was squeezing too hard on the lock back and somehow slid his thumb up the blade or something. We're not entirely sure, but that's what got Joe, and that's why he was bandaged.
I think Joe's lying to us. I think he got dysentery before the cut happened. The cut was an excuse. He knew he was going to die. He went out into the woods and just, like, that's it. I'm sorry. We're going to look for a fourth. Auditions will be
good times.
We hate you, Joe.
Way to suck.
He does suck. Back to the cons, other than his cons. You were talking before about the jimping and the aggressiveness. You could have it this sharp, or you could have it this deep, but I don't think it should ever be both.
No.
You know what I mean? Even with a gloved hand, it's more than is necessary.
And thankfully, it is probably something that you could take some very mild sandpaper and knock down and make it be acceptable. For sure. But the fact that you have to do that is of note that it is very, very aggressive. On the aggressive note, I do have a thing. My other main personal gripe is how aggressive the G10 on this texturing is.
Very nice looking.
Very nice looking. Even in the hand, I don't dislike the texture. It's not that it chews my hand up. My main problem is in the pocket.
It will shred a pair of hands.
And I demonstrated earlier, when you're sliding this knife in and out of your pocket, you might as well take a cheese grater to the side of your pocket, because that's how bad it chews up your pocket.
You can hear individual threads snapping.
It's pretty gross.
I've done it twice tonight just to show the guys, and I don't want to do it again because it hurts me. It hurts me on the inside to be able to. But anyone who owns this knife can clearly attest to the fact that you're just like, geez, man, like, I'm going to be going through blue jeans like crazy if this is what I'm going to be carrying on a regular basis.
For sure.
It's absolutely insane.
One thing that I think we might have forgotten to talk about is the fact that surface right there is exposed.
That is another negative that we probably would have missed. But actually, a good friend of ours.
See that there?
YouTube channel I'll pop up here, and he's the one that first popped it out, Johnny something.
Okay.
And props to Johnny for pointing it out the first time, but he was the one that noticed it, and I saw it in his video, so, and didn't even think about it until I saw that portion of it. But
You drop that knife.
when you open it, when you close that knife, that tang is completely exposed to the elements, to the hardcore whatever you may encounter. Whether it's pocket change, whether it's keys, whether it's dropped on the sidewalk.
Yeah.
Yep. And the issue with that is the tension in the lock bar is always pushing down, so the bar going across there will be rubbing and scraping, and you'll be able to feel every little nick and ding.
And it's nice and smooth now, and it operates okay. But if that started to get chewed up, I can only imagine how much more difficult that knife would be to open.
And I don't think it's going to affect the lockup in any way.
No.
Because once it already sinks down in there, it's going to be fine. But it is very much that every time you open and close it, there's going to be tiny little reminders about where you didn't take care of your knife.
It almost might be worth going in there and like adjusting it and like going in there with a stone or something like that and trying to polish it out a little bit if it if you had a bad drop.
If it were to happen, if you were to get that exposed. And there's no other knife on the market, whether you look at the Freak, whether you look at the Kaiser, whether you
the closest, and it's still hidden.
The tangs are completely enclosed with the body of the knife. And I think that is a big negative that I think no one has pointed out. So you do have to give a lot of credit to Mr. Johnny Man for figuring that out and pointing that out, that day-to-day life might actually make this knife less enjoyable to use as time goes on.
So, next kind of stage in the video here shall be the grading system.
Last but not least, and you only get 3 grades because this son of a bitch isn't here. Yes. His grades don't matter. I don't care if he puts his grades up, but we're not even going to post them. Put them on Instagram, you son of a bitch. Post once in a while.
I think he should actually post a video explaining what he did to his thumb.
I think so. Yeah. I think so.
Yeah,
we can hear that live on Joe's story. Never, probably.
Good luck.
So, like I was saying there, grading system. So me personally, I ended up giving this guy a D. It came in at a 62%.
Hater.
Such a hater.
I'm not sure if it's just because it doesn't really do anything for me, or because of our new grading system, I'm being very hypercritical. But yeah, it's just doesn't really do it for me at all.
So your low points?
Lowest point I gave it was 5s. A few 5s for enthusiasm. Yeah, the lock's cool, but doesn't really do it for me. It's a big tanky knife, and if I'm looking for something that big and tanky, I'm going to fixed blade.
The big tanky is why I liked it.
Yeah.
And says the guy with the double XL mitt that the only knife will fit him most of the time is like a goddamn Raja.
That thing.
Yeah, that fits nice.
Yeah. It's too tanky. Give me a Makusta, because I'm all proper and shit.
True. Yeah.
It's good. It's good. I like it. Yeah.
High things that I graded it on were ergonomic execution. Despite the fact that it is just a little bit too small for my hands, that's like I can see how well the ergonomics are in it, and it is sits really nice in hand and stuff like that.
It really does lock you right in.
Yeah. It's a tried and true contouring that just, once again, like for the large populace, is going to be enjoyable of a grip.
Sure. Who next?
I'll do next. I actually ranked this a C+. I was borderline between a B, a B minus. Ultimately, after even tonight and we were chatting more, I realized that some things that I had overlooked.
Were things that couldn't be overlooked?
Yeah. My big negative, honestly, is pocket ergonomics.
That was a big one.
The thing we dabbled on earlier was the cheese grater effect of this G10 on my pocket. And something that I find is when I'm using a knife, how easy it is to put away and pull out of my pocket and put back in. If I'm using it repeatedly, I'm breaking down boxes for an 8-hour period. And
the old in and out matters.
The in and out totally matters. I'm not just
100%.
in and out in every 20 minutes. It's got to be a repetitive thing, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's got to be enjoyable, a repetitive thing. There's your innuendo right there. So,
Ta-da! Yeah, exactly. Just
so major low points on the pocket ergos for this. On the plus side, I ranked several things at 9. Ergonomic preference, like I said, locks me in good. I know I can do some powerhouse work when I've got this knife in my hand, and I really enjoy that. The lockup for me, for sure. Again, like a balisong, when you put your hand on that lock, it's pretty hard for it to go anywhere.
Yeah.
it's a lock that's really good, and then it's even better when you put your hand on the back of it like that.
And the other 9 I gave it, honestly, is fit and finish and materials. Or cost of materials, sorry, not fit and finish. Cost of materials, with everything going on, the Scorpion lock, the aluminum, the G10, the stainless steel, the S35, at a just over, like, give or take 200 US price point type of thing. Yeah, honestly, this is in and on par with everything else from major manufacturers that you see from around the world. So definitely. I gave it a high ranking on that too. So
fair enough. Now for me, my lowest score, I only have one that's really, I only have one that's really bad. It's the pocket ergos. It's that cheese cutter effect on the pocket.
Man, I'm pretty sure the pair of jeans I'm wearing is never going to be the same again after tonight's review because of how harsh that was. But
yeah, no, I put it in my pocket exactly once, and as soon as I put it in my pocket, I could hear thread snapping, and I was like, yeah, no, thank you. Once it's in the pocket, it feels fine. But getting it there is brutal.
Yeah, the footprint it takes up, it's no worse than a Crooked River or a Super Freak or a whatever it may be. It takes up the same footprint. I don't argue about that.
That's it.
For sure.
My highest point is enthusiasm. I'm a nerd for different. Like
I will give you, it's the most excited I've been about a Cold Steel pocket knife in over 5 years. I want to say 7 or 8 years since I've seen something that I'm like, oh, I'm really looking forward to see how that works out. This one did it for me. It got my hype up.
That's
for sure.
I'm a big fan of integral handles and things like that. The mechanics that go into this, the spring that's in there and stuff like that, just it hits me in the right places. I was excited to see how it works.
Tickles the right things.
Exactly, it gets you right there, you know. And yeah, it's the enthusiasm was there from the get go. Certain things have kind of fallen a little bit short, but overall, it's cool.
And honestly, I think me and you agree on the things that fell short on the enthusiasm was how not as smooth and natural the lock is to play with, to open and close.
As I've been led to believe.
As I've seen everyone else make it look. Honestly, it is a little bit of a tricky knife. Yeah. And even tonight, the more I play with it, the more I'm enjoying playing with it. I will give you that, for sure.
Go ahead.
It also makes me kind of wonder if you're able to adjust the back pivot to release the tension on the bar at all. And that might help with the ease of playing.
Yeah. Okay, so there has been videos talking about adjusting both. I've done that with one of the models that we have on hand to play with. And I'm sure with the combination of breaking in and playing with both of those pivots, it does come into play for sure.
Fair enough.
It definitely does.
Cool.
So, yeah, there's been some other YouTube reviews that have talked about that's a good way to get it dialed in.
Right. It's a pivot spot, right? So it makes sense.
Yeah,
and that would help with the ease of the manipulation of it and stuff.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
And ease of opening, closing the lock bar. And even, like I said, when you're using it and your hands down, it doesn't need to have a crazy tight spring.
No, because it's
when you're holding the knife.
Yeah.
So you can totally ease up the spring tension on that. Yeah.
I forgot what I was going to say now.
Wonderful.
That knocked it out of my head.
That's right.
So I guess this should be a good time for us to thank the Cutting Edge. Once again, they have let us review the knives for your entertainment here.
They got this seat instead of Joe because they're way cooler than
Just
Joe
put Cutting Edge across the bottom for the entire video.
Sponsored by the guy who couldn't make it.
Yay!
Yeah, thank you, Cutting Edge. And both of these kind of box unseen, we got to play with them a little bit over the weekend just to make sure they were dialed in on the price. But living in Canada, sometimes it's rough to get knives right now, guys. And we're trying to get as many knives as we can for you guys to review. But Customs isn't making it any easier for us. Let's just leave it at that.
True facts.
Yeah.
Shit.
But we're glad we could review this knife. We got it dialed in, and we got it as smooth as we could to show you guys what we get to play with. So.
For sure.
That being said, I think we're pretty well rounded out on this little guy here.
You can see all three of our reviews right here. You'll see 3 instead of 4 because, again, Joe sucks. We're going to reiterate that. Yeah.
It does suck.
Yeah, for sure. You can pause that screen and show off the comparisons on what everyone thought compared to the guys. And that's what we love about this new grading system. We're really happy about it. Again, comment what you'd like to see us change, what you like about the grading system, what you don't. We'd love to hear about it, for sure.
100%.
Yep. And yeah, as always, make sure you like, subscribe, comment, as Dennis was saying about the grading system. If there's any specific knives you want us to review, feel free to make suggestions.
Yeah,
we're always up for that. And yeah, that'll be all for now. Nigel the Smith signing out.
I am who I am. I'm Dennis Vipers.
XL.ca.
We will catch you again next time.
Yep.
We don't need bigger knife. Yeah.